Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I want to thank you all, not just for being here and taking the time to listen to us today, but for your activism, for your engagement as leaders of the Democratic Party across the state every day. It is so important in this day and age that we stand up and that we are counted, that we make sure our voices are heard as policies are developed and implemented at the city level, at the town level, at the state level, and at the federal level. My name is Josh Zakim. I'm currently a Boston City Councilor where I chair our Committee on Civil Rights, and I'm running to be your next Secretary of State because of that work I've done on the Civil Rights Committee, because of the work I've done before I was elected as an attorney at Greater Boston Legal Services, where I worked with low-income families who are facing foreclosure and eviction from their homes during the subprime lending crisis in 2010. I worked with every level of government to keep these people in their homes, to keep our neighborhoods together and cohesive, and that's an approach I've taken to my work on the Boston City Council. I've chaired our Civil Rights Committee. I'm incredibly proud that we introduced, that I wrote and enacted the Boston Trust Act, which is the bill that makes what the president likes to say us an outlaw sanctuary city, and that was one of the most proud moments of my first term on the Boston City Council. And we've continued, thank you. But that's not enough. Civil rights is not just about non-discrimination. It's not just about making immigrants welcome in our community. It's not just about making sure that the LGBTQ population has safe places to live and work and go to school, that people can be where they want to be, regardless of who they love, what they look like, how they pray. But we need to do more. And as chair of the Civil Rights Committee in Boston, I continue to hear over and over again from advocates, from community leaders, that access to the ballot, that voting in Massachusetts was not as easy as we thought it was. I was surprised to find out that we ranked right near the middle of the pack when it comes to access to the ballot, to registration, to having a 20-day voter registration deadline, to making it very tough to vote by absentee ballot or by mail, to making it tough for high school students who are registered and want to vote to participate in our elections. So we had hearings in Boston City Council. I filed legislation that would make changes to the way Boston does. We filed resolutions and we sent to the State House asking the legislature and the governor to enact measures like automatic voter registration and same-day registration. Things that our neighbors in New England, like New Hampshire and Maine, and over a dozen other states have done, but that Massachusetts is way behind on. If I'm elected as your next Secretary of State, I will work every day to increase turnout. Some of you may not know this, but our primary turnouts in Massachusetts are down almost 30% in the last 20 years. We need to continue engaging people at every level and every part of our society and making it easier for them to show up, to register to vote, and to be counted on Election Day. The Secretary of State's office as Chief Elections Officer is so important in making sure that we have good policies and we're able to hold our elected leaders accountable in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Secretary's office also has oversight over the state public records law, making sure that we have accessible public records at all levels, putting a lot of these records online, digitizing them, making it easier to search and get them is a role the Secretary of State can and should play. As your Secretary, I will always err on the side of transparency. I will always say this needs to be a public record with the few exceptions outlined in the law. We need aggressive enforcement of that. We need aggressive enforcement of our securities industry here in Massachusetts. The Securities Division in the Secretary's office can and should be much more proactive. I don't know about the rest of you, but I do not think that Donald Trump's SEC or federal government is going to care much or do much to protect small investors and consumers here in Massachusetts. We need to make sure that people know about that authority in the Secretary's office and that we are out in every room like this, in every community center and senior center across the Commonwealth, telling people about the services that are open to them and that they can use. I've looked and I've seen what our great Attorney General Maura Healey has done with that office, and that's the kind of Secretary of State I want to be, pushing an agenda forward, leading on these issues, trying new things to literally and figuratively open up our government, being responsive as an individual to emails that come to my office, as I do every day on the Boston City Council, being out in our communities. My cell phone number and email are on the sheets, and those of you that have my cards are on there. As a Boston City Councilor, I'm in my neighborhoods in my district every day holding open office hours. I will continue doing that as Secretary of State. It is important that people have access and responsiveness from their elected leaders, not just at the city and town level, but at the state level as well. And I will literally take that show on the road as your Secretary, making sure folks across the Commonwealth are engaged and part of this. I ask for your vote. The primary this year is the day after Labor Day, so please make sure to mark your calendars, make sure to show up. I need your support. I look forward to working with all of you as Secretary of State to continue this process. And before I get the inevitable question, my website is www.joshzakim.com. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your activism and advocacy, and I hope to earn your vote in September.